Hello everyone and welcome.
Hey!
Okay, so let's get started. So I hope you all know who I am. I'm here to help you all better understand the needs of the talented and gifted students that you have in your classes every day. We all know that gifted children are exceptional in areas compared to their peers, but oftentimes there's a disconnect between this fact and how we can better teach them. Take a guess or tell me if you know of how many gifted students each of you have in your classes every day.
I see 17 gifted students throughout my classes each day.
I see about the same, I think.
Ms. Rasmussen, throughout the day you see 15 students who are in some sort of gifted program here. Mr. Meyer, you were correct. Ms. Krogman and Ms. Stutz, you each see 12. So, since we're not quite sure how many gifted students we all have in our classes throughout the day, I'm sure that we are not doing all that we can to help them. So that's what I'm here for. So today, instead of focusing on the curriculum acceleration, enrichment, flexible grouping, and everything that we think of when we talk about academic success of gifted students, we're going to focus more heavily on their social and emotional needs and frustrations. So let's just jump right in. Ms. Stutz, can you read this for us?
Although most educators would likely agree that typical academic content areas of math, science, and language arts are critical when it comes to academic achievement, a perceptual disconnect in this regard could also cause what is often termed underachievement.
So if a student does not see the importance or value in what I'm trying to teach them, is it right of me to expect them to try hard and learn it anyways?
Well, they should know it's expected that they get a well-rounded education.
I remember when I was a student, I didn't try hard in classes that I had no interest in. I guess I shouldn't expect any different from my students.
So how do we think we can increase the interest of our gifted students in the classroom?
Well, I have my students fill out a basic interest survey at the beginning of each year. It's usually just basic, get-to-know-you questions, but I could include questions about their academic interests as well. If one of my students has a particular interest in math, I can gear their readings towards this.
Yes, I love that idea. It's something so simple, yet our gifted students will really appreciate you taking an interest in their academics. Now let's talk about some other important reasons to get to know your gifted students. Mr. Meyer, will you read this one?
Of course! An eager, questioning mind may cause a bright student to call out in class, to debate, to argue, to ask questions. A young boy who does this may be labeled precocious, while a bright young girl who asks too many questions may be labeled obnoxious, aggressive, and even unfeminine.
So as a female who excelled in a gifted math program throughout middle school and high school, I know all too well the things that go along with being a gifted female. While it's more accepted now for girls to be good at math, many people still expect that it is a male-dominated field. They expect girls to prefer English or the arts. I hated those classes. I didn't try as hard in them, and when my peers made fun of me for being good at math, I was crushed. This fact about me coincides with many other gifted women. If women view moral concerns in terms of interpersonal relationships and responsibilities to others, they may have a difficult, if not impossible, time putting their own needs in front of those needs that they care about. So why do we think that this is the case, and what can we do to promote the intelligence of our gifted students that are females and as intelligent females ourselves?
Well, as another female that was gifted in STEM, I felt feelings similar to those you described. However, I felt the need to hold myself back from I never felt the need to hold myself back from my career, so I'm not sure exactly how I would approach that situation.
I think it's important as teachers to promote equality for the males and females in our classrooms. It's all about creating a welcoming environment in which we want all of our students to succeed.
Personally, I make sure to encourage my female students who are strong in math to speak up during class. If they timidly offer up an answer during discussion, I will pull them aside at the end of class and let them know that they are doing well and should not be so afraid to speak up. I noticed that this worked well with one of my female students in particular. She would always complete the work quickly and correctly and performed well on tests, but rarely participated in discussion. Now she is one of the first to raise her hand. I have noticed that some people make comments under their breath when this happens, but she ignores them and is still confident in her work.
Wow, I may definitely have to try that in my classroom. I have some girls and minority girls and boys who are afraid to speak up because they are worried their answers will be incorrect.
As for the part about not wanting to be held back from their careers, while they are only in middle school, it is important to teach these girls to trust their abilities. We have to let them know that they aren't limited just because they are girls. While some people may view them that way, that isn't how they should view themselves.
I love the ideas you guys are coming up with. Ms. Rasmussen, can you read the next point that I want to discuss with all of you?
According to Dabrowski, intensity is a positive characteristic for gifted children and gifted adults. He called this intensity overexcitability and identified 5 types: psychomotor, sensual, intellectual, imaginational, and emotional. Many gifted students have an intellectual overexcitability. With this, they ask a lot of questions. How do we, as teachers of gifted students, allow them to have this overexcitability?
Well, I think this is a hard problem to tackle. If I'm teaching a lesson, I cannot get through to them if they are questioning everything I say.
But don't we want our students to inquire about a topic? I believe I would rather have this than have a class who passively takes notes during my PowerPoint slides.
Maybe we can allow for some questioning, but if it takes away too much from the rest of class time, suggest meeting with them outside of class to further discuss, because you would love to continue that conversation.
That's a great idea. That way the student does not feel as if you are ignoring them or that they are a burden to the class. Excellent thinking. What about an emotional excitability? What might this mean for the student?
Would this maybe mean they more easily get upset or excited about a topic?
Yes, and it also means that they are more prone to feeling empathetic for others.
So it's very important to be aware if your gifted students experience any of this, right? Because a simple disciplinary action to them or another student could cause a whole scene to unfold in the classroom that you would have never thought of. Do students or their parents likely know that they have these feelings, or does it often come to light only once it happens?
It's hard to say. Usually they don't just randomly develop these overexcitabilities. They likely have always had them, but sometimes certain things can trigger their emotions more than others.
One way to avoid this would be to discipline students in a private and one-on-one basis. Then the student wouldn't even know that anything happened. It is also important to establish positive relationships with your students at the start of each day so that they know there are no lingering hard feelings for anybody.
Absolutely. So now I'd like your opinions on the following. So as we know, gifted students are not always gifted across the board. Some excel in math, others in reading and writing. How do we explain to administrators and parents that just because a student does not perform well in one area or is not motivated to do it, they are still qualified for gifted programming?
Well, for starters, we could allow them to ponder the question of if they performed equally in all areas when they were in school. More often than not, their answers will be no. I think all of us in here can agree that we had our strong subject in school and subjects we put more effort into.
I agree. My student who goes above and beyond in my classes may not perform as well in Mr. Myers, but I can advocate for the student and say they are getting A's across the board with me. I would recommend that student for an independent study, an accelerated program, grade skipping, etc., but Mr. Meyer may not, and that's okay. It's hardly fair or beneficial to the student to hold them to one standard across such different fields.
Exactly. I know that my motivation to do well decreased exponentially when I walked from my math class to my history class in high school. I loved math. I was good at it and it interested me. History never sparked my interest. I was never motivated to do it because I did not care about the topics being discussed. This goes back to getting to know our students and their needs. If we know how they work best and what they are most interested in, we can help them be motivated in school. I would like to leave you with some common misconceptions about gifted students and their motivation. Many gifted students prefer independent mastery of knowledge, yet teachers may not be aware of or use the behaviors that support autonomy. Many gifted children express their boredom in school through misbehavior, which in turn elicits negative reactions from teachers and reinforces the child's perception that his or her needs are unreasonable. Finally, gifted students may be especially vulnerable to concerns about the social desirability of both giftedness and studiousness, and may submit to peer pressure to hide their gifts. So, please remember that when you have students in your classroom that do not quite fit your norm, before you assume they are bad students or they just don't want to learn, I encourage you to dig a little bit deeper into just what may be the reason for this misbehavior. I hope you all learned a lot from this and have some ideas to take back to your classrooms tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.